Hi, I'm Seamus, and I'm an Aussie daddy blogger, and that bowl of water's about to overflow. No, it isn't. Hey! So, I'm here today because a gentleman called Mr. Q asked me a question, and he asked me a question as part of Aussie Daddy Blogger's hashtag dadtag series. Is it a series? Yeah, it's a series. Is it a series? I would call it a series. So yeah, never teach your kids those little moral things because they come back to bite you in the butt. Anyway, James asked me about writing and blogging. What he actually asked was whether blogging has improved my writing or whether my writing has improved my blogging, because he's under this false illusion that I'm a writer, and I don't really think I am. I think I'm a guy who blogs occasionally and talks about his life via the written word. But, you know, writer? Meh, I'm not there yet. So, I'll be answering that question in this video once I finish the dishes.
Alright, now, let me tell you about the single most important part of the writing experience for me. The most important thing is that the kids are asleep. Now, I'm not going to actually go in and disturb them. The reason why I've got this light shining on my face rather than at them is so that I don't wake them up. Because if the children don't sleep, Daddy don't write. So, I've been writing stuff on the internet about myself and about my feelings for an awfully long time. It started back in the early 2000s when I opened an account on... Actually, no, I lie. It started earlier than that. It started in the 90s when I was a high school student and thought I knew everything. My friends and I would frequently email each other. Those of you who don't know what email is, it's that thing that's a bit like a Facebook message, except it's older than that. Anyway, we would email each other back and forth, and I decided, because I was oh so wise and venerable, that I would write a weekly newsletter about news, current events and politics to my friends, which I called the Weekly Fence Sitter, because you see, it was nuanced, it wasn't opinionated, it was all about the complexities of life, and I can't really remember what the hell I wrote. I'm sure it was absolute bloody drivel, but I wrote anyway because I felt the urge to write. And that brings me to 2013. I was 32. My wife was pregnant with our second child, the lass, and my wife was very ill. She suffered twice from something called hyperemesis, which means throwing up a lot. It affected her for the first sort of 16 to 20 weeks of that pregnancy, and during a large chunk of that time she was in bed. If she moved, she'd throw up. If she drank water, she'd throw up. If she breathed in, I don't know, particles of food of any kind, she'd retch. It was pretty awful. And during that period of time, I stayed home and looked after our son, who was 1 and a bit at the time, about 1.5. Well, he got to 1.5 through that phase. His birthday's in October, so anyway, do the math. It was tough, and it was tough on him, it was tough on me, and we weren't even the ones throwing up, so it was exceptionally tough on the mumminator. And that's my wife. That's what I call her on the blog, by the way. I think it's cute. I think she thinks it is. It cute? Yeah, it's cute. It's cute. She thinks it's cute. She's not. Maybe, I don't know. You can't tell if she's nodding or not. You just have to believe me. That's good. The power. So it sort of, I don't know, a whole lot of stuff welled up inside me, and it burst out in the form of some writing, which was private at first. You know, it was a chance for me to, I don't know, part vent, part reflect, part reassure myself that it was all okay and that it was all worth it, and that I was doing an all right job. And it was also part of a place for me to say, oh my God, my son can be a right little bleep head at times, which he can be, which every child can be. And what I discovered as time went on was that I had more to say and more to write as my children grew, as I grew, and as my understanding of this thing called fatherhood grew as well. So today I write and maintain my own blog, which is at dadinating.com, dadinating, dadtag.com. It's important that you publicise your blog, apparently. And through, I guess, various experiences of writing and of trying to write for it, and sometimes thinking, oh, I haven't posted something in weeks, my blog's going to die, I've come to the realisation that that's, for me, and this is a personal thing, for me, that's not what blogging and not what writing is really all about. I've become, and the blogging has helped me become, I guess, more of a patient writer in a lot of ways. It's helped me practice and hone what I write. I've written lots of different sorts of posts, reviews, bad poetry, it's pretty bad, as well as, I guess, journal entries on my life, lessons, how-to guides, and all that sort of stuff. So one thing blogging has done to my writing is it's made it a lot more versatile, and it's given me a chance to experiment a bit with other genres that I wouldn't, I guess, normally write in. Blogging's also really helped my writing in that it's given me, I guess, access to a readership that can interact with me through comments and through, I get the odd email occasionally, and through other blogging groups where we talk about the craft of writing as well as what we're actually writing about. And in that way, it's really helped me develop as a writer. Another thing that has changed since I started blogging is that I've become a bit more succinct as a writer. I've found a way of saying more with less, which is it's an important skill in writing, I think, and it's something that I used to really sort of suck at, but now I've realised that you don't have to use words to convey, or you don't have to use lots of words to convey stuff that's very meaningful. I have tried to commit myself to some sort of writing schedule and failed miserably. I have tried to write posts for the purpose of getting Facebook likes and followers and engaging people, and have failed miserably. I've written stuff to try and make people laugh, and I've succeeded sometimes, so that always feels good. And I've also written stuff that's quite personal. I've written stuff that has been about me and my experiences, and I've also written stuff that I have felt had to be said, if that makes sense. Sometimes, you know, sometimes things happen in the world and you feel the need to respond to them somehow. And for me, I do that with a blog post by writing about it. And it helps me process the world a little bit better. And I think it helps, I don't know if it helps the world at large. I don't know at all. But I think it helps some people who read this stuff hopefully understand that that it's okay for men and for fathers to be unsure of what they're doing, and that it's okay for men and for fathers to struggle, that it's not easy, that in spite of I guess decades and decades of men being told that they're either super dad or they're absentee workaholics, there's the real experience of it, the real experience of fatherhood's complex and nuanced, and it's important. It's the other real thing I've sort of cottoned onto as I've lived through it and written more and more about it. So I've gone off on a tangent there a little bit about sort of fatherhood and life in general, but I think that was always going to happen. For me, the other important thing about writing is that it helps me distill or crystallize the experiences I've had and what I've learnt from them as a dad. You know, when I've lost my cool, stepping back from that and writing it down has helped me understand, it's helped me understand some of what sets me off. It hasn't, stopped me being irritated when I say my son's name 27 times in a row and he just seems to ignore me, because that's still frustrating, and that's okay. But it's helped me understand that it is possible to sort of step back from that and take a few deep breaths. Unless you've had no sleep, in which case, God help all of us. And it's helped me to bring together some of the stuff I've learnt over the years in a place where I can look back on it and read about it and go, oh yeah, that's how that made me felt that time. Oh, that's how I worked through it that time, and all that sort of stuff. So for me, blogging has been a really useful tool in my writing, and writing's been a really useful tool in my life. I hope that kind of answers the question. And now it's my job to pass on the metaphorical torch of dadtag to the next dad. And Alex from Dad Writes, this one's for you. So, a little while ago you started on a series of blog posts that you called the Dad Rites of Passage, which was a brilliant pun. And you were looking at things that dads go through on their journey to becoming dads. And I guess I wanted to ask you if there was ever a moment in your life where suddenly you just went, this is it, I am actually a dad, or whether that's something that sort of built up gradually over time, or whether it's something that never actually happened, but you just suddenly turned around one day and said, well, somewhere back there, I became a dad. I don't know. I'll leave you to interpret the question and to answer it, and I really look forward to your response. So thanks everyone for listening to my, I don't know what you call it, my bemused ranting, and I look forward to Alex's response. Cheers.